The champagne was cold. That was Sarah Nightingale's first coherent thought as the expensive liquid dripped from her dark hair onto the ballroom floor, each drop hitting the marble like a countdown to her complete destruction. Her second thought was that the safety pins holding her dress together were starting to give way. "Look at her!" Victoria Sterling's voice rang through the suddenly silent ballroom. Her perfect red lips curved in a smile that didn't reach her ice-blue eyes. The traitor's daughter actually thought she could come here tonight, thought maybe some desperate wolf would claim her as a mate. She laughed, and the sound was like breaking glass. But we all know the truth, don't we? Her wolf is too broken to ever shift. Sarah stood frozen in the centre of the grand ballroom, surrounded by 200 members of the Silver Moon Pack. 17 years old tonight, old enough to find her fated mate at the lunar ball, old enough to feel the bond snap into place if the moon goddess had deemed her worthy. She wasn't worthy. She'd never been worthy. The dress, a pale blue thing she'd borrowed from one of the kitchen staff, hung in tatters. Victoria's friends had cornered her in the bathroom 20 minutes ago, their perfectly manicured nails making quick work of the cheap fabric. The safety pins were Sarah's desperate solution, applied with shaking hands in a supply closet while she tried not to cry. She'd failed at that too. Nothing to say? Victoria stepped closer, her silver gown catching the light from the crystal chandeliers. She was beautiful in the way of sharp things, all edges and ice. No defense of your traitor parents? No explanation for why you're even here? Luna Elena said everyone had to come. Sarah's voice came out smaller than she intended. She hated how weak she sounded, but 17 years of being the Pax Omega had taught her that fighting back only made things worse. My mother has a soft heart. The new voice cut through the crowd like a blade. Sarah's eyes found him automatically. They always did, even when she didn't want them to. Alpha Dominic Kane stood at the edge of the crowd, 23 years old and devastating in his black suit. His dark hair was perfectly styled, his grey eyes the colour of storm clouds. He was watching her with the same expression he always wore when he looked at her. Absolutely nothing. Cold, distant, like she was a problem he'd rather not acknowledge. The Omega knows her place, Dominic continued, his voice carrying easily across the silent ballroom. She'll clean up this mess and return to the kitchens where she belongs. Victoria preened under his attention, sliding her hand possessively through the crook of his arm. They looked perfect together, the beautiful chosen mates who would lead the pack into the future. Never mind that they weren't fated mates, that the bond hadn't snapped into place between them. Chosen mates were common enough in powerful families, alliances built on politics rather than destiny. Sarah felt something crack inside her chest. She'd known this would happen. Had known since she was 10 years old and first understood what her parents had done. They'd tried to assassinate Dominic's father, the previous Alpha. The attack had failed and they'd died in the attempt, leaving Sarah alone to bear the weight of their crimes. Well? Victoria raised one perfect eyebrow. Are you going to stand there dripping on the floor all night, or are you going to do what the Alpha commands? Sarah should have bowed her head, should have apologized and backed away toward the service entrance like the good little Omega she was supposed to be. But something was wrong. A strange warmth spreading through her chest, starting where her heart beat too fast and radiating outward. She stopped, confused. The warmth was getting stronger, almost hot now, and with it came a pull, a desperate, undeniable urge to move, not toward the kitchen, not toward safety, toward the Moon Temple. The sacred building sat at the northern edge of Pack grounds, reserved for the highest-ranking wolves during the most important ceremonies. Sarah had never been inside. Omegas weren't allowed to even approach it. But now, standing in her ruined dress with champagne in her hair and 200 pairs of eyes judging her, all she could think about was getting there. The pull intensified, and Sarah took a step backward, then another. Where do you think you're going? Victoria's voice sharpened. Dominic told you to clean this up. But Sarah was already moving, turning away from the beautiful couple, from the crowd of pack members who'd watched her humiliation with either satisfaction or pity. Her feet carried her across the ballroom, past the refreshment tables and through the side door that led to the gardens. Sarah! Someone called her name, but she didn't stop. She couldn't stop. The night air hit her like a shock of cold water, raising goosebumps on her bare arms. The lunar ball was held during the full moon, and tonight the silver light seemed brighter than usual, painting everything in shades of pearl and shadow. Sarah ran across the manicured lawn, her borrowed shoes slipping on the grass. The moon temple rose before her, white marble columns supporting a domed roof, ancient symbols carved into every surface. It was beautiful and terrifying, and Sarah had no idea why she was running toward it instead of away. The warmth in her chest burned hotter with every step. She reached the temple steps and stopped, breathing hard. This was insane. She'd be punished for this, severely punished. Omegas didn't approach the temple. They especially didn't touch it. But her hand was already rising, reaching for the carved wooden door. Don't! The command came from behind her, and Sarah spun to find Dominic standing at the base of the steps. He'd followed her. Why had he followed her? His grey eyes were no longer cold. They were burning with something Sarah couldn't name. Step away from the door, Sarah. I can't. The words tumbled out. I don't know why, but I can't. You're forbidden from entering the temple. He climbed the steps slowly, deliberately, like he was approaching something dangerous. Whatever you think you're feeling, ignore it. Come back to the house. The warmth in her chest blazed into fire. Sarah gasped, stumbling backward, and her palm slapped against the temple door. The world exploded into silver light. It erupted from her hand, spreading across the door in lightning-fast patterns that matched the ancient symbols carved into the marble. The light was blinding, beautiful, and completely terrifying. Sarah tried to pull her hand away, but it was stuck, fused to the door by power she didn't understand. What? Dominic's voice was shocked, almost afraid. That's impossible. The symbols were glowing brighter now, spreading from the door to the columns to the entire temple structure. And with the light came a voice, not spoken aloud, but resonating in Sarah's mind, ancient and powerful and absolutely certain. Welcome home, daughter of moonlight. Your wolf has been sleeping, waiting for this moment, waiting for you to be strong enough to bear the truth. No, Sarah whispered. No, I don't have a wolf. Victoria was right. I'm broken. You were never broken. You were protected. The light pulsed once, twice, and then pulled inward, flowing from the temple into Sarah's body like water finding a crack. She screamed as power flooded through her, 17 years of suppressed instincts, denied strength, hidden potential, all coming back at once. And with it came her wolf. She was silver and fierce and absolutely furious at being caged for so long. Sarah felt her presence like a second heartbeat, strong and wild, and nothing like the broken, pitiful thing she'd been told she was. The light faded. The temple returned to normal. Sarah's hand fell away from the door. She turned to face Dominic, and his expression was everything she'd never seen before. Shock, confusion, and underneath it all, a growing understanding that made her stomach drop. Sarah. His voice was rough. What are you? Before she could answer, the temple door swung open behind her, and a figure stepped out from the darkness within. She, said Luna Elena. Her silver hair gleaming in the moonlight, is exactly what this pack has been waiting for. Chapter 2. Sarah woke to symbols crawling across her skin like living things. She jerked upright with a gasp, and the movement sent silver light rippling down her arms, ancient marks that hadn't been there when she'd lost consciousness. They glowed softly in the pre-dawn darkness, forming patterns she couldn't read, but somehow understood. Protection, power, legacy. Don't be afraid. The voice was ancient, weathered like old leather. They'll fade once your body adjusts to the awakening. Sarah's eyes found the speaker sitting cross-legged near the temple's altar. Elder Rosewood, the pack's oldest living member. She had to be 90, maybe older, her face a map of wrinkles and her white hair braided down her back. Sarah had seen her maybe 3 times in her entire life, always from a distance. Elders didn't speak to Omegas. What happened? Sarah's voice came out hoarse. What did I do? You came home. Elder Rosewood stood with surprising grace for someone her age. To the place your mother used to pray, the place where she received her visions. The floor tilted under Sarah. My mother was here, but she was a traitor? The elder's laugh was bitter. Is that what they told you? That your parents tried to kill Alpha Marcus Cain? Everyone says, everyone is wrong. Elder Rosewood moved closer, her dark eyes sharp, despite her age. Your mother, Celeste Nightingale, wasn't a traitor. She was the moon goddess's chosen oracle, the voice through which the goddess spoke to our pack. And your father, Thomas, came from a bloodline so ancient and sacred that most wolves have forgotten it ever existed. Sarah shook her head, backing away until she hit the cold marble wall. This didn't make sense. None of it made sense. You're lying. My parents were murdered. The word hung in the air like a blade. 17 years ago, someone in this pack killed them to hide what you are, to hide what you would become. The symbols on Sarah's arms pulsed brighter, responding to her racing heartbeat. She stared at them, at the proof that something inside her had fundamentally changed. What am I? Elder Rosewood's expression softened. Your father was a celestial wolf, a bloodline thought extinct for 2 centuries. They were guardians, blessed by the moon goddess herself with power that terrified other packs. Your mother's oracle abilities combined with your father's celestial blood should have made you the most powerful wolf in generations. She paused. Instead, someone made sure you grew up believing you were broken. My wolf isn't broken, never was. The elder gestured to the glowing symbols. She was dormant, waiting for your bloodline powers to awaken, which they did, right on schedule, on your 17th birthday. Yesterday, Sarah whispered. The lunar ball, the humiliation, the overwhelming pull to the temple. That was yesterday. The awakening has begun, but it's not complete. Your wolf is stirring, but she needs time to fully emerge. Elder Rosewood's voice turned urgent. And whoever killed your parents will come for you the moment they realize what's happening. They went to great lengths to suppress your true nature. They won't allow it to surface now. Sarah's mind reeled. 17 years of being treated like dirt, of believing she was worthless, of carrying the weight of crimes her parents supposedly committed. And it was all a lie. Who? Who killed them? That I don't know. Your mother came to me the night before she died, terrified. She'd received a vision, betrayal from within the highest ranks of the pack. She asked me to protect you if anything happened to her. The elder's voice cracked. I failed. I wasn't strong enough to stand against whoever orchestrated their deaths. The best I could do was hide what you were, suppress your wolf's awakening until you were old enough to have a chance at survival. You? Sarah stared at the old woman. You're the reason I couldn't shift? I bound your wolf when you were an infant, yes, a temporary measure that was supposed to break on your 17th birthday. Elder Rosewood met her gaze steadily. I'm not asking for forgiveness, but I kept you alive. The temple doors burst open. Sarah spun, her body automatically dropping into a defensive crouch she'd never learned. The symbols on her skin flared bright enough to cast shadows. Luna Elena stood in the doorway alone, her silver hair loose around her shoulders. She looked from Sarah to Elder Rosewood, and something like grief crossed her elegant features. So, it's true. I'd hoped I was wrong. Elena, Elder Rosewood stepped forward. How much do you know? Enough. The Luna's voice was steady, but Sarah caught the tremor underneath. I've suspected for years that something about Celeste's death didn't align with the official story. When I saw what happened at the temple last night, she looked at Sarah, really looked at her, in a way she never had before. You have your mother's eyes. I should have seen it sooner. Does Dominic know? The question came out before Sarah could stop it. Luna Elena's expression hardened. My son knows only what his father told him, that your parents were traitors who tried to destroy our pack. Marcus made sure of that. She moved into the temple, her footsteps echoing. But Dominic has been troubled lately. Distracted. He's been having dreams. Elder Rosewood sucked in a sharp breath. What kind of dreams? He won't tell me the details, but he wakes calling out to a silver wolf. The Luna's eyes found Sarah's. Your wolf, I suspect? The mate bond is trying to surface. The world stopped. No, Sarah managed. That's impossible. He's with Victoria. They're chosen mates. Chosen, not fated. Luna Elena's voice was gentle. The moon goddess doesn't care about political alliances. If you're truly Dominic's fated mate, then Victoria will kill me herself. Sarah finished the thought, her stomach dropping. She already hates me. If she thinks I'm a threat to her position, she'll do more than hate you. Elder Rosewood's voice was grim. Victoria's family has wanted control of this pack for 3 generations. A chosen mate bond with Dominic was their way in. They won't let a fated mate ruin that, especially not the daughter of alleged traitors. Sarah's legs gave out. She slid down the wall until she was sitting on the cold marble floor, her borrowed dress still torn and stained with champagne. This was too much, too fast. Yesterday she'd been nothing. The pack's omega, invisible and insignificant. Now she was supposedly some kind of powerful hybrid with a murdered oracle mother and a father from an extinct bloodline. And the alpha who'd ignored her for 17 years might be her fated mate. I can't do this, she whispered. I don't know how to be any of those things. Luna Elena knelt in front of her, and the gesture was so unexpected that Sarah's breath caught. You don't have to know yet, but you do have to survive, which means we need to hide you until you're strong enough to defend yourself. Where? Everyone in this pack. Not everyone. The Luna pulled a silver key from her pocket. There's a cabin in the Northern Territory, past the border of our regular patrol routes. My grandmother built it as a refuge during the war with the Shadow Pack. No one remembers it exists, except me. She pressed the key into Sarah's palm. Go there. Elder Rosewood will bring you supplies and begin your training. Training? Sarah's voice rose. I can't even shift. You will. Elder Rosewood's certainty was absolute. Now that the binding is broken, it's only a matter of time. Days, maybe a week at most. Your celestial blood will accelerate the process. What about Dominic? The question hurt to ask. If he's really having dreams, I'll handle my son. Luna Elena stood, her expression turning to steel. But Sarah, you need to understand something. If Dominic is your fated mate, the bond will become undeniable once you shift. He'll feel the pull, and so will you. Victoria will sense it too. She paused. She's already plotting to have you removed from the pack permanently. I overheard her talking to her father this morning. Fear, sharp and cold, cut through Sarah's confusion. Removed how? Exiled, or worse. The Luna's jaw tightened. Her father suggested an accident during tomorrow's hunt. They think you're still just a broken omega, easy to eliminate. They're going to kill me. Sarah said it flatly, the reality settling into her bones. They're going to try, Elder Rosewood corrected, which is why you're leaving now, before sunrise, before anyone realizes you've recovered from last night's awakening. She held out her hand. "Come, we don't have much time." Sarah took the offered hand and stood on shaking legs. The symbols on her skin had faded to faint silver lines, barely visible in the growing dawn light. She looked around the temple, at the ancient carvings, the altar where her mother had once stood, the doorway that had changed everything. "My parents," she said quietly. "Someone in this pack murdered them. Someone high-ranking enough to cover it up for 17 years. "Yes," Luna Elena's voice was heavy with implication. Sarah met her eyes. "You think it was Alpha Marcus, your husband." The Luna didn't deny it. "I think my husband had secrets I never knew, and I think he died taking them to his grave." Her expression hardened. "But if he was involved in your parents' deaths, I will help you find proof. I owe Celeste that much." A wolf howled in the distance, the morning patrol starting their rounds. "Go," Luna Elena urged, "both of you. I'll tell everyone that Sarah ran away after last night's humiliation, that she couldn't face the pack after such public shame. They'll believe it." Elder Rosewood was already moving toward a side exit Sarah had never noticed. "This way. There's a path through the woods that the patrols don't cover." Sarah started to follow, then stopped. She turned back to Luna Elena, this woman who had insisted she attend the Lunar Ball, who had unknowingly set everything in motion. "Why are you helping me?" The Lunar smile was sad. "Because I failed to help your mother when she needed it most. I won't make that mistake twice." She touched Sarah's cheek. "Gentle. And because I suspect you're going to save us all from whatever darkness has been growing in this pack." Sarah didn't feel like she could save anyone. She felt like a scared girl in a ruined dress with powers she didn't understand and enemies she couldn't fight. But she followed Elder Rosewood into the darkness anyway, because staying meant death. Behind them, the temple doors closed with a sound like fate sealing shut. Chapter 3. Sarah's hands were glowing again, and this time she couldn't make it stop. She knelt in the dirt outside the hidden cabin, silver light pouring from her palms like water, and tried desperately to remember what Elder Rosewood had taught her about control. Breathe, focus, pull the power back inside. But the light only grew brighter, spreading up her arms in those familiar symbols, and with it came the voices. Daughter of moonlight, child of stars. Wake, wake, wake. The words weren't in any language Sarah recognized, but she understood them anyway, felt them resonate in her bones like the echo of something she'd always known. They'd started 3 days ago, these episodes. Small at first, a glow in her fingertips when she was upset, whispers at the edge of her hearing when she tried to sleep. But they were getting stronger, harder to hide, harder to control. The light finally faded, leaving Sarah gasping on the forest floor. Her entire body ached like she'd run for miles, and her head pounded with the rhythm of those ancient voices. She was getting worse at this, not better. "You're pushing too hard." Elder Rosewood emerged from the cabin carrying water and dried meat. "Your power wants to be used, not suppressed. Fighting it only makes the episodes more severe. If I don't fight it, I'll light up like a beacon." Sarah accepted the water gratefully. "Anyone within a mile will see. Which is why you need to learn to direct it, not cage it." The elder sat beside her. "Tomorrow we'll work on channeling. For now, rest. You haven't slept in 2 days." Sarah wanted to argue, but her body was already shutting down. She'd been hiding in this cabin for less than a week, and it felt like a lifetime. The isolation was driving her crazy, the uncertainty even worse. What was she supposed to do with this power? Where was she supposed to go? Who was she supposed to be? She must have slept, because when she opened her eyes again, the sun had shifted. Elder Rosewood was gone, probably gathering supplies from the pack house under the cover of her usual errands. Sarah was alone, and the voices were back. "Come, Forest, now." Sarah tried to ignore them. She'd learned that arguing with mysterious ancient voices in her head was pointless, but these were different, urgent, almost frantic. And underneath the words, she felt a pull, similar to what had drawn her to the temple, but stronger, more insistent. Something in the forest needed her. She was moving before she could talk herself out of it, following the pull deeper into the woods. The Northern Territory was wild here, untamed, the kind of place where patrol wolves rarely ventured. Sarah moved quickly through the underbrush, her borrowed boots barely making a sound. She found the deer in a small clearing. It was dying. That much was obvious. A massive wound in its side leaked blood onto the moss, and its breathing came in laboured gasps. A wolf attack. Probably. The deer's dark eyes found Sarah's, and she saw the plea there. The desperate hope for mercy. Sarah knelt beside it without thinking. Her hands moved to the wound, and the silver light came instantly, this time. Not wild and uncontrolled, but focused, purposeful. It poured from her palms into the deer's torn flesh, and the whispers rose to a crescendo in her mind. Heal, mend, live. The wound began to close. Sarah watched in stunned silence as flesh knit itself together under her glowing hands, as blood stopped flowing and breathing steadied. It took maybe 30 seconds, though it felt like hours. When the light finally faded, the deer stood on shaking legs, completely healed. It looked at Sarah once more, gratitude clear in its gaze, then bounded into the forest. What the hell was that? Sarah's heart stopped. She spun to find Dominic standing at the edge of the clearing, still in his patrol gear, his grey eyes wide with shock. He'd seen everything, the light, the healing, all of it. Sarah scrambled to her feet, backing away. I can explain. Explain what? That you just healed a dying animal with your bare hands? Dominic moved closer, and Sarah felt it then. The thing she'd been trying not to think about since the temple, since Luna Elena's warning about dreams and silver wolves. The mate bond. It hit like lightning. A connection snapping into place between them, invisible but undeniable. She felt his shock, his confusion, and underneath it all, recognition. He felt it too. She could see it in his eyes, the way they widened, the way his breath caught. No, the word came out harsh. No, this isn't. You feel it. Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. The bond. You feel it. Dominic's expression shuttered. The shock disappeared, replaced by cold fury that made Sarah flinch. I feel nothing. You're an Omega with delusions and parlor tricks. That wasn't a trick. I saw a desperate girl trying to get my attention. He stepped closer, and the bond pulled tighter, making Sarah's chest ache. Is this your plan? Fake some kind of power? Create a fantasy about being my mate? Did you really think I'd fall for it? The cruelty in his voice cut deeper than any blade. I didn't fake anything. The bond is real. You know it's real. What I know, Dominic said, his voice dropping to something dangerous, is that you are the daughter of traitors. You are Omega, the lowest rank in this pack, and you could never, ever be an alpha's mate. Each word was a hammer blow. Sarah felt tears burning behind her eyes and hated herself for it. Your mother said you've been having dreams about a silver wolf. My mother sees what she wants to see. His jaw was tight. I'm engaged to Victoria Sterling. Our union will strengthen the alliance between our packs and secure our future. I won't let some broken Omega with delusions of grandeur ruin that. I'm not broken. The words exploded out of her. My wolf was bound, suppressed to hide what I am. But I'm awakening now, and you can feel it. You can feel the bond whether you want to or not. For a moment, just a heartbeat, something flickered in Dominic's eyes. Pain, maybe, or longing, but it was gone so fast, Sarah thought she'd imagined it. You imagined the connection, he said flatly. There is no bond. There is only an Omega who needs to remember her place. He turned away. Stay away from me, Sarah. Stay away from the pack. If I see you near pack grounds again, I'll have you exiled. He was leaving. Actually leaving, even though the mate bond was screaming between them, even though she could feel his wolf howling in protest against his words. You're lying. Sarah's voice shook. You feel it. I know you do. Dominic stopped but didn't turn around. What I feel is disgust. At you for this pathetic display, and at myself for wasting time on it. His voice was ice. You are nothing to me. You will always be nothing. He disappeared into the trees. Sarah stood frozen in the clearing, the mate bond stretching painfully in his wake. She felt the exact moment he shifted and ran, felt his wolf's anguish mixing with her own. The rejection was physical, a tearing sensation in her chest that drove her to her knees. Omegas, who were rejected by their fated mates, rarely survived it. The bond, once acknowledged, couldn't be ignored without consequences. Sarah pressed her hands to her chest, trying to breathe through pain that felt like dying. The silver light erupted from her skin without warning. It wasn't controlled this time. It was pure anguish given form, spreading out from her body in waves. The grass beneath her feet turned silver. The trees began to glow, and the voices in her head weren't whispering anymore. They were screaming. Impressive power for one so young. Sarah's head snapped up. A man stood at the opposite edge of the clearing, tall and lean, with white blonde hair and eyes that gleamed like polished gold. He was beautiful in an otherworldly way, wrong somehow, like looking at something that shouldn't exist in the mortal world. Who? Sarah tried to stand but couldn't. The light was still pouring out of her, uncontrolled. My name is Theron. He moved closer, seemingly unbothered by the silver energy crackling around them. And I've been looking for you for 17 years, child of the goddess. I don't know what you're talking about. The pain in Sarah's chest was getting worse. Please, I can't stop it. The light? Theron knelt in front of her, and up close, Sarah could see that his eyes weren't just gold. They held entire galaxies. You can't stop it because you're in agony. Your fated mate just rejected you, and your celestial blood is reacting to the trauma. How do you know about... I'm a lunar guardian. He said it like that should mean something. Sent by the moon goddess herself to protect you. I should have found you sooner. But whoever bound your powers did an excellent job hiding you from us. The light was starting to fade, exhaustion replacing pain. Sarah slumped forward, and Theron caught her before she hit the ground. His hands were cool against her burning skin. Elder Rosewood bound me, she managed, to keep me safe. And it worked, too well. Theron's expression was grim. But now you're awakening, and there are things you need to know. Things about what you are. I know. Celestial bloodline, Oracle Mother. That's only part of it. He helped her sit up, his golden eyes serious. Sarah, you're not just of celestial bloodline. You are the moon goddess's direct descendant, the first in 300 years. He paused. There's a prophecy about you, about what you'll become. Sarah laughed, and it came out broken. Let me guess. I'm supposed to save the world? Or destroy it? Theron's voice was gentle. The prophecy says the goddess's daughter will either unite the werewolf race under a new order or bring about its extinction. You are the tipping point, Sarah, the fulcrum on which our entire species balances. The clearing spun around her. This was too much. First the rejection, now this. I can't be. I'm nobody. I'm just... You're everything. Theron stood, pulling her up with him. And you're in terrible danger. The moment your power fully manifests, every pack in North America will come for you. Some to control you, others to kill you before you can fulfill the dark half of the prophecy. I don't want to fulfill any prophecy. Sarah pulled away from him. I just want... What? What did she want? Dominic, who'd just rejected her? A normal life, which she'd never have? I want to understand what's happening to me. Then come with me. Theron held out his hand. I can teach you to control your power, help you survive what's coming. Elder Rosewood is doing her best, but she's a mortal wolf. She can't guide you through a celestial awakening. His golden eyes were kind. I can. Sarah looked at his offered hand, then back at the forest where Dominic had disappeared. The mate bond still ached in her chest, a constant reminder of what she'd found and lost in the same breath. Maybe leaving was better. Maybe running from the prophecy, the power, the pain, was the only smart choice. She reached for Theron's hand. The forest exploded with howls. Dozens of them, coming from all directions. Patrol wolves, alerted by the light show. And somewhere among them, Sarah felt him. Dominic, running back toward the clearing. We need to go. Theron's voice was urgent. Now! He's coming back, to capture you, not save you. Theron pulled her toward the deeper forest. He felt your power. He knows what you are now, whether he admits the mate bond or not. And his first loyalty is to his pack. The howls were getting closer. Sarah let Theron pull her into a run, her heart breaking with every step, away from her fated mate. Behind them, silver light still clung to the trees like evidence of everything that had shattered in this clearing. Chapter 4. Victoria Sterling's perfectly manicured nails dug crescents into her palms as she stared at the forest floor. 2 scents, intertwined, unmistakable. Dominic's pine and winter storm mixed with something she'd never noticed before on the Omega. Moonlight and silver rain. The combination made Victoria's wolf snarl with recognition. This wasn't just proximity. This was intimacy, connection. This was a mate bond. No, the word came out as a growl. Victoria had spent 3 years positioning herself as Dominic's chosen mate, 3 years building the alliance between the Sterling and Kane packs. She would not lose everything to a worthless Omega with a dead traitor's blood. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands. The woman who answered spoke in a voice like smoke. Victoria Sterling, to what do I owe the pleasure? Morgessa, Victoria kept her voice steady. I need your help. How delightfully ominous. A dark laugh. What's the problem, darling? Trouble in paradise with your alpha? There's a girl, an Omega. She's... Victoria's jaw clenched. She's his fated mate. Silence. Then, and you want her gone. I want her dead. Victoria said it without hesitation. But it needs to look natural. No one can suspect murder. That's tricky with wolves. We heal too quickly, resist most conventional poisons. Morgessa's voice turned thoughtful. But there is one substance that works beautifully on awakening celestials. Lunar bane. Rare, expensive, and absolutely untraceable in a standard autopsy. Victoria's heart raced. Celestial? The Omega is... Oh, you didn't know? Morgessa sounded delighted. Your little problem is much bigger than a simple mate bond, darling. But don't worry. Lunar bane will handle it. The poison mimics Omega weakness. She'll just fade away over a few weeks. Everyone will think her wolf finally gave out. How much? For you? 5,000? Cash. A pause. Meet me at the crossroads at midnight. Come alone. The line went dead. Victoria stared at her phone, then back at the intertwined scents on the forest floor. $5,000 was nothing compared to what she'd lose if Dominic claimed his fated mate. The Sterling family's alliance with the Kanes, her position as future Luna, the power she'd spent years cultivating, all of it would disappear. She'd pay 10 times that to keep what was hers. Sarah's hands moved through the air, silver light following her fingers like ribbons. She was getting better at this. The control, the precision. 3 days of training with Theron, and she could finally summon her power without accidentally setting the forest on fire. Good, Theron circled her, his golden eyes assessing. Now hold it steady and push outward. Create a barrier. Sarah focused. imagining a wall of light extending from her palms. The silver energy responded, spreading into a shimmering dome around her. It held for almost 10 seconds before flickering out. Better. Theron nodded. Last week, you couldn't hold it for 2 seconds. Last week, I didn't know I could create barriers at all. Sarah flexed her fingers, watching the residual glow fade. How much more is there? How many powers do I have? Honestly, I don't know. Theron sat on a fallen log. The last goddess born died 300 years ago. The records of her abilities are incomplete. But from what we do know, healing, barriers, enhanced strength, possibly precognition, and destruction, when your emotions run wild. Sarah thought about the clearing 3 days ago, how her anguish had turned everything silver. The destruction part seems pretty easy. That's the problem. Theron's expression was serious. Your power is tied to your emotional state. When you're calm, centered, you can create and protect. When you're hurt or angry, I become a weapon, Sarah finished quietly. You become dangerous, Theron corrected, to yourself and everyone around you, which is why you need to master emotional control before your full awakening. When will that be? Hard to say. Days, maybe weeks. But when it happens, every supernatural creature within 100 miles will feel it. You'll be a beacon. He stood. Which means we need to work faster. Again. Shield up. Sarah raised her hands, but before she could summon the light, pain lanced through her stomach. Sharp. Burning. Wrong. She doubled over with a gasp. Sarah? Theron was at her side instantly. What's wrong? I don't know, it just... Another wave of pain, stronger this time. Her vision blurred at the edges. Something's wrong. Theron's hands glowed golden as he pressed them to her abdomen. His eyes widened. There's something foreign in your system. Poison, I think, but I can't identify it. Poison? Sarah's mind raced. How? I've been careful. I haven't eaten anything except what Elder Rosewood brings. She stopped. Elder Rosewood brought her food from the pack house, food that anyone could have tampered with. We need to flush your system. Theron was already pulling her toward the stream. Get you somewhere safe. No. Sarah pushed through the pain. I can't hide forever. If someone's poisoning me, I need to know who and why. Sarah, I'm going back. She straightened despite the agony in her gut. To pack training tomorrow. Let them think the poison is working. Theron's expression was torn between admiration and concern. That's incredibly brave and incredibly stupid. Probably. Sarah managed a weak smile. But I'm tired of being prey. Dominic slammed his fist into the training dummy hard enough to split the reinforced leather. Alpha. His beta, Marcus Reed, approached cautiously. That's the third dummy this week. Then order more. Dominic hit it again, welcoming the pain in his knuckles. Anything to distract from the howling in his head. His wolf had been going insane for 3 days. Ever since the forest, ever since he'd felt that impossible bond snap into place with Sarah. Ever since he'd rejected her, and felt like he was dying from the inside out. You need to talk about it, Marcus said carefully. Whatever's eating at you, I'm fine. You're picking fights with pack members, destroying equipment, and you haven't slept in days. Marcus crossed his arms. That's not fine. That's feral. Dominic wanted to argue, but his friend was right. His wolf was out of control, clawing at him constantly, demanding he find their mate, claim her, protect her. But he couldn't. Sarah was the daughter of traitors, an Omega, and he was engaged to Victoria, bound by alliance and duty and 3 years of careful political manoeuvring. The mate bond was a cosmic mistake. Alpha, another voice, Victoria appearing from the pack house in designer workout clothes. We need to discuss the upcoming alliance ceremony with the Sterling pack. Dominic forced himself to focus. What about it? My father wants to move it up. Have the formal bonding ceremony next month instead of next spring." Victoria's smile was perfect, but something in her eyes made Dominic's wolf snarl. "He thinks we've waited long enough." A month. Dominic would be permanently bonded to Victoria in a month, making the mate bond with Sarah irrelevant. The thought should have brought relief. Instead, it felt like a death sentence. "Fine." The word came out harsher than intended. "Whatever you want." Victoria's smile widened. "Wonderful. I'll tell father." She kissed his cheek, and Dominic had to force himself not to flinch. "Oh, I almost forgot. That Omega girl will be at training tomorrow, the one from the lunar ball." Every muscle in Dominic's body went tense. "Sarah." "Is that her name?" Victoria's voice was honey-sweet. "I thought she'd left the pack. But apparently she's been hiding in the Northern Territory. Elder Rosewood convinced her to rejoin regular activities." A pause. "She looked rather unwell when I saw her this morning. Pale, shaky. I hope she's not getting sick." Dominic's wolf roared. Something was wrong. He could feel it through the bond he was trying so hard to ignore. A faint echo of pain, of wrongness. Sarah was hurt. "I need to go." He was moving before he realized it. "Go where?" Victoria called after him. "Dominic, we need to finalize the ceremony details." But he was already shifting, his wolf taking control, following the mate bond toward the Northern Territory, toward Sarah. Luna Elena sat in her late husband's study, surrounded by boxes she hadn't opened in 17 years. Marcus's things, his papers, his journals, the pieces of his life she'd packed away after his death rather than face them. But Dominic's behavior over the past few days had pushed her to do what she should have done long ago: investigate. She found the letters in a locked drawer. 20 years of correspondence between her and Celeste Nightingale, her best friend, her confidant, the oracle who'd guided the pack through its darkest times. Elena's hands shook as she read. "Elena, I had another vision last night. Terrible. Betrayal from someone we trust. I'm afraid for Sarah. If anything happens to me, promise you'll protect her. Promise." That letter was dated 2 weeks before Celeste's death. Elena had promised, and then she'd failed. She'd believed Marcus when he said Celeste and Thomas were traitors. Believed the evidence he'd presented, the witnesses he'd produced. She'd let Sarah become the Pax Omega, let her suffer for crimes her parents supposedly committed. And now, reading these letters, seeing Celeste's fear, her warnings, Elena realized the horrible truth. Her husband had lied. Marcus had orchestrated Celeste's death. Probably Thomas's too. And Elena had been too trusting, too in love, too blind to see it. A knock at the door. "Luna?" Elder Rosewood entered, her face grave. "We have a problem. Sarah collapsed during her walk this morning. I think she's being poisoned." Elena's blood ran cold. "By who?" "I don't know yet. But if we don't stop it soon?" The elder's voice cracked. "We'll lose her just like we lost Celeste." "No." Eleanor stood, something fierce awakening in her chest. "I failed Celeste. I won't fail her daughter." She grabbed her phone. "Get Sarah to the Pack Hospital. Tell them to run every toxin screen they have. I'll find out who's behind this." Sarah made it to Pack training through sheer willpower. The poison, because Theron was right, it was definitely poison, was getting worse. Her stomach felt like it was on fire, and every breath was agony. But she walked onto the training grounds with her head high, ignoring the stares and whispers. Victoria was there, perfect as always in her training leathers. Her smile when she saw Sarah was venomous. "Look who finally crawled out of hiding." Victoria's voice carried across the grounds. "Feeling all right, Omega? You look terrible." "I'm fine." Sarah forced the words out. "Are you sure? Because you look like you might—" Sarah's knees buckled. She hit the ground hard, and the pain in her stomach exploded into something unbearable. She coughed. And blood splattered the dirt, silver blood that shimmered in the morning light. The training grounds erupted in chaos. Through her fading vision, Sarah saw Victoria's expression, satisfaction quickly masked by false concern. She knew Victoria had done this. "Someone get the healer," Marcus's voice, urgent. "Move." Another voice, one that made Sarah's broken heart lurch. Dominic, shoving through the crowd, his face twisted with fury and fear. "Everyone back!" He dropped to his knees beside her, and Sarah felt the mate bond flare between them. His hands were gentle as they turned her face toward his, and for a moment, all the cruelty from 3 days ago was gone. "Sarah," his voice broke on her name. "What happened? What did they do to you?" She tried to answer, but more blood came up instead. Silver and wrong, and proof of what she was. Dominic's eyes widened as he saw it, then narrowed with understanding. "Lunar Bane," he whispered. "Someone poisoned you with Lunar Bane." Sarah's vision was going dark. But before she lost consciousness, she saw Victoria standing in the crowd, her expression carefully neutral, and she knew. Her fated mate's chosen mate was trying to kill her. Chapter 5. Sarah was drowning in silver fire and she couldn't find her way out. The poison burned through her veins like acid, turning everything inside her to ash. She could hear voices, distant, urgent, panicked, but couldn't make sense of the words. All she knew was pain and the certainty that she was dying. Not yet. A voice in the darkness, familiar and fierce. Her wolf, finally fully awake. "We don't die like this. We fight." But Sarah was so tired of fighting. "Her vitals are crashing," a healer's voice sharp with fear. "We're losing her." "No." Another voice raw with command and something that sounded like desperation. "Dominic, you're not losing her. Do whatever it takes. Alpha, we've tried everything. The poison is too advanced, too specifically designed. It's targeting her celestial bloodline at a cellular level. There's nothing we can—" "Then I'll give her my strength." Sarah felt hands on her face, warm and calloused. Dominic's scent, pine and winter storm, cut through the haze of pain. She tried to open her eyes, but couldn't. "Alpha, you can't," the healer again, horrified. "An emergency mate bond without consent, without ceremony. It's against every protocol. The Pack Council will—" "I don't care about protocol." Dominic's voice cracked. "She's my mate. My wolf won't let her die." Sarah felt it then. His wolf pressing against her consciousness, demanding access, demanding the right to save her. And underneath his words, she heard what he wasn't saying. That he'd been fighting this bond for days, that denying it was killing him too, that he was sorry. "Let him in," her wolf urged. "It's our only chance." Sarah didn't have the strength to refuse. The mate bond slammed into place with the force of a lightning strike. Dominic's alpha strength flooded through the connection, raw power that wrapped around Sarah's failing systems and held them together through sheer force of will. The poison recoiled, still deadly, but no longer immediately fatal. Sarah gasped, her eyes flying open. The hospital room came into focus. Healers surrounding her bed, monitors beeping frantically, and Dominic kneeling beside her with his hand pressed over her heart. His eyes glowed with his wolf's presence, and through the bond, Sarah felt everything he'd been hiding. Longing, guilt, fear, rage at whoever had done this to her, and love. Despite everything, despite his denials and his cruelty, he loved her. Sarah. Her name was a prayer on his lips. "Stay with me." "The bond," she whispered. "Everyone will know. I don't care." And through the connection, she felt that he meant it. "Let them know. You're mine." The hospital room doors burst open. Victoria stood in the doorway, her face a mask of fury, barely contained behind false concern. "What happened?" "I heard Sarah collapsed." She stopped, her eyes widening as she saw Dominic kneeling at Sarah's bedside, saw the mate bond shimmering between them like visible light. "You," Dominic's voice dropped to a growl. "You did this." "I did nothing." Victoria's voice rose, perfectly pitched for the growing crowd of pack members gathering in the hallway. I was as shocked as anyone when she collapsed during training. Liar. The word came from the corner of the room. Theron stepped out of the shadows, his golden eyes blazing. Half the pack members gasped. They could sense what he was, something other, something ancient and powerful. You consulted with a dark witch named Morgessa 3 nights ago. Paid her $5,000 for Lunarbane poison specifically designed to kill celestial bloodlines. Victoria's face went white, then red. That's absurd. I've never heard of this Morgessa person. Haven't you? Theron pulled out his phone, swiped through something, then turned it to show the room. Security footage of Victoria at a crossroads handing cash to a woman wreathed in shadows. Morgessa is an old friend of mine. She tends to record her transactions. For insurance. The crowd erupted in angry whispers. This proves nothing. Victoria's composure was cracking. That video could be faked. I have witnesses who can confirm I was nowhere near any crossroads 3 nights ago. She's right. Beta Marcus Kane stepped forward from the crowd, his expression grave. Victoria was with me that night, discussing alliance details with the Sterling Pack. We were in my office from 9 p.m. until after midnight. I can provide security logs. Dominic's uncle, his father's younger brother, who'd helped run the pack for 20 years. Dominic trusted him implicitly. Sarah felt Dominic's confusion through the bond, his certainty wavering. Marcus wouldn't lie. Marcus was family. Those logs are falsified. Theron's voice was cold, just like the evidence that condemned Sarah's parents 17 years ago. The room went dead silent. What did you say? Luna Elena pushed through the crowd, her face ashen. Marcus Kane killed Celeste and Thomas Nightingale. Theron turned his golden gaze on the Beta. The Oracle had a vision, a prophecy that a celestial-born child would expose a great betrayal within the Kane bloodline and claim the Alpha position. Marcus couldn't allow that, so he murdered them and framed them as traitors. Marcus laughed, but it sounded forced. This is insane. Dominic, you can't believe this stranger's wild accusations. I loved your father. I've served this pack faithfully for decades. Have you? Theron took a step closer. Or have you been slowly poisoning Alpha Marcus Kane for years, waiting for the right moment to take control? Luna Elena made a sound like a wounded animal. No, Marcus died of heart failure. Natural causes. Nothing natural about it. Theron's expression was grim. The same poison Victoria used on Sarah, Lunarbane. In small enough doses, it mimics heart disease in regular wolves, but it's fatal over time. You have no proof? Marcus's composure was slipping now, his eyes darting toward the exit. Actually, Elder Rosewood stepped forward, holding a small vial. I do. I've been investigating Alpha Marcus's death for months. This was found in your office, Beta, hidden in a locked drawer. She held up the vial. The liquid inside shimmered with the same silver taint as Sarah's blood. The crowd turned on Marcus, anger rippling through pack bonds. This is absurd. But Marcus was backing toward the door now. Victoria, tell them. Don't you dare. Victoria's voice was ice. This was your plan, your conspiracy. I was just supposed to remove the Omega threat. You promised me. Shut up, Marcus snarled. And suddenly he was moving, not toward the exit, but toward Sarah's bed, a silver blade appearing in his hand. If she dies, the prophecy dies with her. Dominic moved to intercept, but Marcus was faster, his blade arcing toward Sarah's exposed throat. Power exploded from Sarah's body, not the controlled light she'd been practicing with Theron, not the healing glow or the protective barriers. This was pure primal energy, silver fire that erupted outward in a wave of destruction. It caught Marcus mid-strike, flinging him across the room. It shattered every window, cracked the walls, set off every alarm in the building. The hospital room tore itself apart. Sarah felt herself rising, lifted by power she couldn't control. The poison in her system burned away under the onslaught of celestial energy. The mate bond with Dominic flared bright enough to blind, and behind her, she could feel them forming, pulling themselves into existence from pure moonlight and starfire. Wings. Massive silver wings that shimmered with the light of the full moon, spreading 20 feet on either side. They weren't physical, not exactly, but they were real enough to cast shadows, to radiate power that made every wolf in the vicinity drop to their knees, the mark of the moon goddess's chosen. Through the chaos, Sarah saw Marcus struggling to his feet, saw the silver blade still clutched in his hand. He looked up at her, at the wings, and his face twisted with hatred. "You should have stayed hidden," he spat. "Your mother thought she could protect you with her visions and her prayers, but in the end, she died, screaming your name." Something inside Sarah snapped. The silver fire focused, condensed into a beam of pure destruction aimed directly at Marcus's heart. She could kill him? Should kill him for what he'd done to her parents, to her, to Dominic's father. "Sarah, no!" Dominic's voice cut through her rage. "Don't let him make you a killer." Through the mate bond, she felt his desperation, his fear. Not of her, but for her. If she killed Marcus in cold blood, even justified, she'd prove every fear the prophecy inspired. She'd become the destroyer instead of the savior. Sarah pulled the power back at the last second. The beam diverted, slamming into the wall behind Marcus instead. The impact brought half the ceiling down, burying the beta under rubble and twisted metal. Not dead. Sarah could still sense his heartbeat through the destruction, but trapped. Neutralized. The wings faded as Sarah's strength gave out. She collapsed back onto the hospital bed, the silver fire extinguishing as quickly as it had appeared. Dominic caught her, his arms wrapping around her as if he could shield her from the shocked stares of the entire pack. "It's okay," he murmured against her hair. "You're okay. I've got you." Through the settling dust, Sarah saw Victoria being restrained by pack warriors, saw Elder Rosewood and Luna Elena staring at her with awe and fear in equal measure, saw the smoking ruins of what had been a hospital room, testament to the power she'd barely controlled. The prophecy was real, the destroyer and the saviour balanced on a knife's edge, and Sarah had just shown the entire pack exactly how thin that edge was. "The wings," someone whispered. "The goddess has marked her." "She's celestial born," another voice, awed. "The prophecy," a third, fearful. Sarah buried her face against Dominic's chest, feeling the mate bond pulse between them. The only solid thing in a world that had just turned inside out. Through it, she felt his unwavering certainty, his protection, his acceptance of what she was. "Let them stare," Dominic said quietly, his lips against her temple. "Let them fear. But they will respect you. I'll make sure of it." Behind them, pack warriors were digging Marcus out of the rubble. Luna Elena stood over him, her face carved from ice. "Beta, Marcus Kane," she said, her voice carrying despite the chaos. "You are hereby stripped of your rank and expelled from this pack for the murders of Celeste and Thomas Nightingale, for the poisoning of Alpha Marcus Kane, and for conspiracy to commit treason." She looked at Victoria. "And you, Victoria Sterling, are expelled for attempted murder and conspiracy." "You can't!" Victoria struggled against her restraints. "My father will." "Your father will accept the pack's judgment or face war." Elena cut her off. "Which I doubt he wants when the goddess-born stands with us." The weight of those words settled over Sarah like a mantle. She wasn't just Dominic's mate. She wasn't just a girl with powers she barely understood. She was the goddess-born, the fulcrum of prophecy, the one who would save or destroy them all. And the entire supernatural world was about to find out. Chapter 6. Sarah's body was tearing itself apart from the inside. She knelt on the floor of the pack's sacred chamber, one of the few rooms still standing after the hospital explosion, and felt 3 different forms fighting for dominance: human, wolf, Goddess. Each one pulled at her bones, her skin, her very essence, trying to reshape her into something she couldn't sustain. Make it stop. The words came out broken, half human, half growl. Please, make it stop. Theron's hands hovered over her but didn't touch. I can't. The transformation has to complete on its own. You're evolving beyond what any normal wolf. I'm not evolving. Silver light burst from Sarah's skin, cracking the stone floor beneath her. I'm breaking. Through the agony, she felt Dominic through the mate bond. His terror, his helplessness. He stood against the far wall with his mother and Elder Rosewood, forced to watch because touching her in this state could kill them both. How long? Dominic's voice was raw. How long does she have to suffer like this? Until the goddess decides she's ready. Theron's golden eyes were sad, or until she tears herself apart. I've never seen a transformation this violent. Sarah screamed as another wave hit, her spine arched, bones shifting under her skin. For a moment, she felt wings trying to form again, felt fur sprouting along her arms, felt power enough to level the entire compound. Then it all retreated, leaving her gasping and human once more. There has to be something we can do, Luna Elena said desperately. There is. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Ancient, eternal, undeniable. But she must face it alone. The sacred chamber filled with silver moonlight despite the stone ceiling. The light coalesced into a form, a woman taller than any mortal, her hair flowing with the movements of celestial bodies, her eyes holding galaxies. The moon goddess herself. Every wolf in the room dropped to their knees. Even Theron bowed. Only Sarah remained as she was, too broken to do anything but stare. My daughter. The goddess knelt before her, and her presence was cool relief against the burning transformation. You are in pain because you are trying to become 3 things at once. You must first understand what you already are. I don't understand anything. Sarah's voice cracked. I'm supposed to be Omega, broken, worthless. You were never broken. The goddess's hand touched Sarah's cheek, and the contact brought instant calm. You are the bridge between mortal and divine, between wolf and deity. But such power requires mastery, not just inheritance. The trials. Theron's voice was reverent. The celestial trials. The goddess nodded, her gaze never leaving Sarah's. 3 trials to prove her worthiness, 3 tests of strength, wisdom, and sacrifice. Only by completing them will she fully inherit her divine powers and become what she was born to be, the Luna Celestia, protector of all werewolf kind. And if I fail? Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. Your power will consume you. The veil between our world and the mortal realm will tear, and the ancient darkness we imprisoned eons ago will be freed. The goddess's expression was grave. Entities that feed on chaos and destruction, that once nearly destroyed all supernatural life. They have been waiting for a weakness in the veil. Your failure would give them that weakness. The weight of it crushed Sarah. So I either become your champion or I destroy everything. Yes, the goddess didn't soften the truth. The prophecy was clear. You are salvation or extinction. There is no middle ground for one born of my direct bloodline. That's not fair. Dominic's voice cut through the chamber. She's 17 years old. She's been tortured and poisoned and nearly killed. How can you ask her to? I ask nothing she wasn't born to give. The goddess turned her eternal gaze on him. And you, Alpha Cain, must decide what you believe she is, the Omega you rejected, or the goddess born who is your true mate. Dominic flinched like he'd been struck. The trials begin at the next full moon, the goddess continued. 7 days from now. Sarah must complete them before her 18th birthday, or the transformation will kill her and the veil will shatter. She looked back at Sarah. You may bring 1 companion. Choose wisely. The moonlight faded. The goddess was gone, leaving only stunned silence in her wake. Sarah slowly got to her feet, her body still aching, but no longer tearing itself apart. The transformation had stabilized, temporarily. She had 7 days before it resumed with deadly force. Well, she tried for levity and failed. At least now I have a deadline. The sacred chamber doors burst open. Pack warriors flooded in. But these weren't loyal to Dominic. Sarah recognized them. Older wolves, traditionalists, the ones who'd always looked at her with disgust. And leading them was Marcus Kane, his arm in a sling from the hospital collapse, but his eyes burning with fanatic hatred. There, he pointed at Sarah, the abomination who would destroy us all. The goddess herself just confirmed it. This girl will tear apart the veil and unleash hell on earth. That's not what she said. Dominic moved to stand between Marcus and Sarah. Uncle, you're under arrest for murder and treason. Stand down. I'm not your uncle anymore. Marcus's smile was vicious. I'm the alpha this pack needs, the one willing to do what's necessary to protect them from divine tyranny. The warriors with him shifted into defensive positions. Sarah counted at least 20, maybe more in the hallway, a significant portion of the pack. This is insane, Luna Elena said. Marcus, you killed my husband. You murdered Sarah's parents, and now you want to lead? I did what had to be done. Marcus's voice rose. The oracle saw the truth. A celestial child would expose betrayal and claim alpha status. She would have destroyed everything your husband built. I protected this pack. You murdered innocent people. Innocent? Marcus laughed bitterly. There's a reason celestial bloodlines went extinct, Elena. They're too powerful, too dangerous. They tip the balance between supernatural and mortal, and when that balance breaks, everyone suffers. He looked at Dominic. Your father understood this. Before I killed him, he agreed that Sarah had to die. The words hit like physical blows. Through the mate bond, Sarah felt Dominic's world shatter. You're lying, Dominic whispered. Am I? Ask yourself, nephew. Why didn't your father ever question the traitor narrative? Why did he allow a child to be treated as Omega, worked half to death, humiliated? Marcus's eyes gleamed, because he knew what she was, what she would become, and he was too weak to do what needed to be done. So I did it for him. No. But Dominic's voice held doubt now, confusion bleeding through the mate bond. Sarah felt her heart crack. He was wavering. Despite everything, despite the mate bond and the trials and the goddess's proclamation, Dominic was actually considering his uncle's words. I'm giving you a choice, Alpha. Marcus's voice turned formal. Reject your mate bond with the abomination. Help me eliminate the threat to our pack. Or step aside and let those of us with the strength to do what's necessary take control. This is ridiculous. Elder Rosewood stepped forward. Dominic, you can't seriously be considering. I need time to think. Dominic's words were quiet, but they echoed through the chamber like thunder. Sarah felt the mate bond twist with his turmoil. He believed her. She knew he did. But he also believed his duty was to protect the pack. And right now, Marcus was offering him an impossible choice. Her life or their safety. And he was hesitating. Take your time. Sarah's voice came out steadier than she felt. I release you from any obligation to choose me. Sarah. Dominic reached for her. No. She stepped back. You were right before. An Omega could never be an Alpha's mate, and a goddess-born is even more impossible. She looked at Theron. I'll do the trials, with you as my companion. Sarah, please. Dominic's voice broke. I just need time to... You don't have time. None of us do. She turned to Luna Elena. Thank you for trying to protect me. I know you did your best. Elena's eyes filled with tears. I should have done more, should have fought harder against Marcus's manipulations. She pressed her hand to her temple. There's something I need to tell you, something I've been trying to remember for years but couldn't. Every time I got close, my memories would fog. would shift. A curse. Theron's voice was grim. Memory manipulation. Marcus's work? It must be. Elena's voice strengthened as she spoke, like breaking through chains. But it's weakening now. I can feel it. And I remember, Celeste came to me the night she died, gave me a letter, told me to give it to Sarah when she came of age. But every time I tried to remember where I put it, the curse would activate. She looked at Sarah with desperate clarity. I know where it is now. Your mother left you answers, Sarah. Instructions. She knew this day would come. Where? Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. The Moon Temple, hidden in a box behind the altar, carved with her name. Elena grabbed Sarah's hands. And I pledge to you, I and those still loyal to the true lunar bloodline will protect your right to complete the trials. Marcus will not harm you while I still breathe. Touching. Marcus's voice dripped with contempt. But you're outnumbered, Elena. More than half the pack stands with me now. They see the truth. This girl is a threat we cannot afford. Victoria's voice cut through from the hallway. He's right. She has to die. Sarah turned to see Victoria pushing through the warriors, her perfectly styled hair dishevelled, her designer clothes torn. She looked unhinged, desperate. You took everything from me, Victoria screamed. My position, my mate, my future, but I can still salvage this. If I kill you, prove my loyalty to the pack, maybe they'll forgive my mistakes with the poison. She lunged, a silver blade appearing in her hand, the same kind Marcus had used. Sarah raised her hands to defend herself, but before she could summon her power, something inside her shifted. Not the goddess transformation, not the painful pulling between forms. Her wolf, after 17 years of silence, of being bound and suppressed and called broken, her wolf rose with the force of an avalanche. Sarah felt her body change, not the agonizing transformation from before, but something smooth, natural, right. She grew, fur erupted across her skin, not grey or brown like normal wolves, but pure silver that seemed to hold starlight. Her bones restructured, her senses exploded outward, and when the change completed, Sarah stood on 4 massive paws as a wolf unlike any the pack had ever seen. She was huge, easily twice the size of an alpha wolf. Her fur shimmered with celestial light, and when she opened her eyes, they held the same galaxies she'd seen in the moon goddess's gaze. Victoria's blade clattered to the floor. The entire chamber fell silent, every wolf staring at Sarah's true form with a mixture of awe and terror. Hello? Her wolf's voice was clear in her mind for the first time ever. I've been waiting so long to meet you. You're not broken, Sarah thought back, wonder filling her. Never was. Just sleeping until you were strong enough to handle what we are together. Her wolf's presence was fierce and loving in equal measure. Now, shall we show them what happens to those who threaten the goddess born? Sarah turned her star-filled eyes on Victoria, who was backing away with terror written across her face. The celestial wolf growled, and the sound shook the foundations of the sacred chamber. Victoria ran. Marcus and his warriors scattered, realizing too late that they'd underestimated exactly what Sarah had become. Through the chaos, Sarah's wolf eyes found Dominic, who stood frozen, staring at her transformed state with an expression she couldn't read through the mate bond. Awe, fear, desire, regret. All of it tangled together. He's ours, her wolf said firmly. Even if he's too foolish to accept it right now. He chose the pack over us, Sarah thought back. Then we'll complete the trials and become powerful enough that his choice won't matter. We don't need his acceptance to become who we're meant to be. Sarah shifted back to human form, the transformation as easy as breathing now that her wolf was fully awake. She stood naked and unashamed in the centre of the sacred chamber, silver light still clinging to her skin. I'm leaving, she said to the room at large, to prepare for the trials. When I return, it will be as Luna Celestia, strong enough to protect this pack, whether you want my protection or not. She looked at Dominic one last time, and strong enough that your choice won't break me. She turned and walked out of the sacred chamber, Theron falling into step beside her. Behind them, she heard Luna Elena's voice. Anyone who still believes in the true Alpha bloodline, who remembers what this pack was supposed to stand for, follow me. We have a goddess born to protect. And despite everything, despite the heartbreak and the impossible trials ahead, Sarah smiled. Her wolf was finally free, and together they were going to save the world. Or die trying. Chapter 7. Sarah stepped through the portal into the spirit realm, and reality shattered around her like broken glass. One moment, she stood in the mortal forest, with Theron beside her. The next, she was suspended in a void of swirling silver mist, her body weightless, her senses screaming that this place operated under entirely different laws than the world she knew. "Where are we?" Her voice echoed strangely, multiplying into whispers. The space between worlds. Theron's form flickered beside her, less solid here, where the moon goddess conducts her trials. The rules are simple. Face what you fear most, choose what matters most, and survive what would destroy anyone else. He met her eyes. I can guide you here, but I cannot help you pass. These trials are yours alone. The mist coalesced into a door, ancient stone carved with symbols that hurt to look at directly. The first trial, Sarah whispered, recognizing it from her mother's stories. Sacrifice. She pushed the door open. Inside was a circular chamber with 2 pedestals. On the left sat a silver chalice filled with shimmering liquid, divine power. Sarah knew instinctively. Enough to complete her transformation immediately, to become the Luna Celestia without suffering through the other trials. On the right pedestal lay a small crystal heart, her mortality, her human life, her connection to the mortal world, everything that made her Sarah rather than just a vessel for goddess energy. A voice filled the chamber, vast and impartial. Choose, divine power or mortal life. You can't have both. Sarah approached the pedestal slowly. That's it? That's the trial? The trial is understanding what you're truly sacrificing, Theron said from the doorway, and living with that choice. Sarah stared at the chalice. If she drank it, she'd have the power to defeat Marcus, to banish the Void Walkers Theron had warned her about, to protect everyone she loved. But she'd lose her humanity in the process. Become something cold and divine and separate from the world she was trying to save. If she took the crystal heart, she'd remain herself. Flawed, mortal, weak by comparison, but real. What happens if I refuse both? She asked. The voice didn't answer, but the chamber began to shake. Refusing wasn't an option. Sarah closed her eyes, thinking of Dominic's face when he'd hesitated to choose her. Thinking of the pack members who'd followed Marcus out of fear, thinking of her parents, murdered for trying to protect her from this exact choice. She picked up the crystal heart. The chalice shattered, divine power dissipating into mist. You choose mortality? The voice sounded almost surprised. I choose to remain myself, Sarah said firmly. What good is saving the world if I lose my soul doing it? My parents didn't die to create a goddess. They died protecting their daughter. I won't dishonor that by giving up what they fought for. The crystal heart melted into her chest, warm and right. The chamber dissolved. Sarah stood now in a different space, a hall of mirrors, each one showing a different face. Victoria sneering. Marcus raising his blade. Pack members laughing as champagne dripped from her hair. And Dominic, turning away from her in the sacred chamber. The trial of forgiveness. Theron's voice echoed from somewhere distant. Face those who've hurt you. Let go of the pain or be consumed by it. The mirrors began to speak. Worthless Omega, Victoria's reflection hissed. You'll never be good enough for him. Traitor's daughter? Marcus's image growled. You should have died with your parents. Broken, the pack members chorused. Weak, pathetic. Sarah felt rage building in her chest, hot and righteous and completely justified. These people had tortured her, tried to kill her, made her believe she was nothing. The silver fire began to rise. Yes, the mirrors whispered, burn us, destroy us, make us pay for what we did to you. Sarah's hands glowed with destructive power. It would be so easy, so satisfying. Then Dominic's mirror spoke. I'm sorry. Sarah's fire faltered. I was afraid, the reflection continued, and even though she knew it wasn't really him, the pain in those grey eyes looked genuine. Afraid of what you made me feel, afraid of losing control, afraid that loving you meant failing my pack. A pause. I was wrong. You're not real, Sarah told the mirror. The real Dominic chose his pack over me. Did he? Or did he choose fear over faith? The reflection's expression was sad. And does it matter? Will you let that choice destroy you? Sarah stared at the mirrors, at all the faces of people who'd hurt her, people she had every right to hate, and she realized the trial wasn't about whether they deserved forgiveness. It was about whether she deserved to be free of them. I forgive you, Sarah said to Victoria's mirror, not because you deserve it, but because hating you gives you power over me. She turned to Marcus's reflection. I forgive you, even though what you did was unforgivable, because holding on to that rage will turn me into the monster you claimed I was. She faced each mirror in turn, speaking forgiveness like a spell that broke chains she hadn't known she was wearing. Finally, she stood before Dominic's reflection. I forgive you for hesitating, she whispered, for being afraid, for not being perfect when I needed you to be. Tears streamed down her face. And I forgive myself for hoping you would save me when I should have been saving myself. The mirrors shattered simultaneously. Sarah stood in darkness, breathing hard, feeling lighter than she had in years. Well done. Theron materialized beside her. Most people fail that trial. The temptation to embrace justified rage is too strong. What's the final trial? Sarah asked, though part of her didn't want to know. Balance. Theron's expression was grave, the hardest of the three. The darkness exploded into light. Sarah found herself standing in a perfect recreation of her childhood home, the house she'd shared with her parents before everything went wrong. She could smell her mother's baking, hear her father's laugh, and in the centre of the living room stood a massive silver door pulsing with power. Behind that door is the truth of what happened to the celestial wolves, Theron explained, why they disappeared, what they were fighting, and what's waiting to return if you fail. Sarah pushed the door open. She saw everything. The Void Walkers, creatures of pure anti-energy that existed to consume and corrupt divine power. They'd hunted celestial wolves to extinction, feeding on their goddess-given energy until nothing remained. The few who survived had gone into hiding, suppressing their bloodlines, hoping the Void Walkers would forget about them. But the Void Walkers never forgot. They'd been infiltrating the werewolf world for centuries, possessing influential pack members, slowly eroding the barriers between realms. Marcus wasn't just power-hungry. He was a puppet for something far worse. And killing Sarah wasn't about protecting the pack. It was about eliminating the one being capable of banishing the Void Walkers permanently. The vision shifted. Sarah saw the veil between worlds, already thin, already tearing. Saw Void Walkers massing on the other side, waiting for the moment it ripped completely. Saw the destruction they would bring to both mortal and spirit realms. And she saw herself. Two versions. In one, she stood tall and powerful, silver wings spread wide, banishing the Void Walkers with pure divine light. The saviour. In the other, she burned. Consumed by rage and pain and power she couldn't control, she tore the veil apart herself, becoming exactly what Marcus claimed, the destroyer who ended everything. Choose, the vision commanded. Which version of yourself will you become? Neither, Sarah's voice was steady. I'm not choosing between extremes, I'm choosing balance. The vision laughed, a sound like universes colliding. There is no balance for one with your power. You will save all or destroy all. That is the prophecy. Prophecies aren't absolute. Sarah squared her shoulders. My mother was an oracle. She taught me that prophecies show possibilities, not certainties. I choose to create a third path. Impossible. Then watch me try. Sarah reached for her power, not to unleash it, but to understand it. She felt the destructive force, yes, but also the healing light, the rage, but also the compassion, the divine energy, but also her mortal heart beating in her chest. She pulled them together, weaving them into something new. Not savior or destroyer, not goddess or mortal, both. Balanced, whole. The vision screamed and shattered. Sarah collapsed to her knees, exhausted but triumphant. She'd passed all 3 trials. Pain exploded in her chest. Not physical pain. Worse. The mate bond, tearing itself apart. Through it, she felt Dominic's agony, felt him dying, No. Sarah tried to stand but couldn't. What's happening? The trials aren't over. Theron's voice was grim. Not for you. The spirit realm shifted again. Sarah found herself in a dark forest, and in the centre stood a massive wolf made entirely of shadows. It had her face, her eyes, her voice when it spoke. I am what you fear most, it said. Not the Void Walkers, not failure. Me, the part of you that wants to destroy, that craves vengeance, that could so easily become the monster they accused you of being. You're not real, Sarah whispered. I'm the realest thing here. The shadow wolf circled her. I'm every angry thought you've ever had. Every moment you wanted to burn it all down. Every second of rage when they called you worthless. It smiled with too many teeth. I'm the destroyer, and you can't complete the trials without defeating me. Sarah tried to summon her power, but nothing happened. The shadow wolf laughed. You can't fight me with power. I am your power's dark reflection. It lunged. Sarah stumbled back, her mind racing. If she couldn't fight it with power, how could she? You have to accept it. The new voice made Sarah's heart stop. Dominic stepped out of the shadows. Not a vision this time, but actually him. She could feel it through the mate bond. Feel his presence like sunlight and after endless night. What are you doing here? Sarah demanded. This is the spirit realm. Mortals can't. I found a way. Dominic moved to stand beside her, facing the shadow wolf. My father woke up, told me the truth about alpha strength, about mates. His voice cracked. I've been an idiot, Sarah. Everything I thought made me strong. Dominance, control, political alliances. It was all wrong. This is touching, the shadow wolf drawled, but irrelevant. The trial is hers, not yours. No. Dominic's voice strengthened. It's ours. That's what I didn't understand. True alpha strength comes from unity with your mate, and I rejected that. Rejected you. He turned to Sarah. I had to face my own trial to get here. Had to admit every prejudice, every fear, every way I failed you. And, Sarah's voice was barely a whisper, and I'm unworthy of you. The admission clearly cost him. I chose politics over destiny, fear over faith. I called you weak when you're the strongest person I know. He took her hands. But I'm here now, and I believe in you, in us, in what we could be together. The shadow wolf snarled, but Sarah felt it, the truth in Dominic's words resonating through the mate bond. You can't defeat your darkness by destroying it, Dominic continued. You have to accept it's part of you. Light and shadow. Creation and destruction. That's real balance. Sarah looked at the shadow wolf. Her rage, her pain, her capacity for destruction given form. It was terrifying. It was also hers. "You're right," she told it. "You are the realest thing here. You're every hurt I've ever felt, every justified anger, every moment I wanted vengeance." She took a step forward. "And you're also my strength. My refusal to be a victim. My determination to survive." The shadow wolf stopped circling. "I don't have to destroy you," Sarah said. "I have to integrate you. Accept that I'm capable of destruction and choose not to let it control me." She held out her hand. "So come home. Be part of me again, but not the only part." The shadow wolf stared at her hand for a long moment. Then it smiled, and this time, it was her smile, real and warm and accepting. "Finally," it said, "you understand." The shadow wolf flowed into her, and Sarah gasped as power flooded her system. Not the wild, uncontrolled energy from before. This was focused, balanced, both destructive and creative, dark and light, mortal and divine. Complete. The spirit realm began to dissolve around them. "The trials are complete," Theron's voice echoed. "Luna Celestia has awakened." Silver wings erupted from Sarah's back, solid this time, permanent. Her eyes blazed with starlight. Divine marks traced across her skin in patterns of power and protection. She was transformed, but she was still herself. Sarah turned to Dominic, who stared at her with awe and love and fear in equal measure. "I'm sorry," he said again, "for everything. For hesitating, for doubting, for—" She kissed him. The mate bond exploded with completion, no longer one-sided or rejected, but fully accepted by both of them. Power surged through the connection, and Sarah felt Dominic's alpha strength merge with her celestial energy, creating something neither of them could achieve alone. True unity. When they pulled apart, the spirit realm was gone. They stood in the mortal forest, surrounded by Theron and Luna Elena and Elder Rosewood, and in the distance, Sarah felt them, the Void Walkers massing at the Vale, sensing that their greatest enemy had finally awakened. "They're coming," she said quietly. "Let them." Dominic's hand found hers. "We'll face them together." Sarah spread her silver wings and felt her celestial wolf rise in perfect harmony with her goddess powers. The final battle was about to begin. And this time, she was ready. Chapter 8. The world was ending, and Sarah could feel it in her bones. She and Dominic materialized in the mortal forest, the spirit realm's silver mist still clinging to their skin. And immediately, the wrongness hit them. The air tasted like decay. The trees were withering, and through the mate bond, now blazing between them like a living thing, Sarah felt the deaths. Pack members, dozens of them. "No," Dominic's voice was raw. "Marcus, what have you done?" They ran. The pack grounds were a war zone. Bodies littered the training field, wolves who'd tried to fight, who'd tried to stop whatever was happening. And in the centre of it all, standing before a massive tear in reality itself, stood Marcus Kane. Except it wasn't Marcus anymore. His eyes were pure void, endless darkness that consumed light. His body flickered between solid and shadow, and the thing inside him radiated wrongness that made Sarah's newly awakened powers recoil. The Luna Celestia returns. Marcus's voice was layered with something ancient and hateful. "Too late, I'm afraid. The rift is nearly complete. My brothers are coming." Through the tear, Sarah saw them. The Void Walkers, hundreds of them, pressing against the weakening barrier between worlds. Minutes, maybe less, before they broke through. "Dominic," Sarah's voice was steady despite her racing heart. "Get everyone out. Everyone still alive. Evacuate them now." "I'm not leaving you to—" "You have to." She turned to face him, her silver wings spreading wide. "I can hold the rift, but not if I'm worrying about protecting the pack at the same time. Please, trust me." Through their bond, Dominic felt her certainty, her power, her absolute conviction that she could do this. He also felt her fear, but she was right. The pack needed evacuation, and he was the only one with authority to coordinate it. "I'm coming back," he said fiercely. "The moment they're safe, I'm coming back for you." He kissed her once, hard and desperate and full of love, then shifted and ran toward the pack house, his alpha command ringing through the bond. "Everyone who can move, to me, now." Sarah turned back to Marcus, feeling her full goddess form unfold. The silver wings solidified, her eyes blazed with starlight, and divine marks traced across her skin in patterns of power. She was Luna Celestia now, not fully immortal after her choice in the trials, but close enough. "You can't stop this," the Void Walker wearing Marcus's skin hissed. "Even the moon goddess couldn't permanently destroy us. What makes you think one half-mortal girl can?" "Because I'm not trying to destroy you." Sarah's hands began to glow. "I'm sending you home, back to the void where you belong." She attacked. Silver fire erupted from her palms, slamming into Marcus with enough force to crack the earth beneath him. He staggered but didn't fall, the Void Walker's power shielding him. Impressive. His smile was vicious, but not enough. He raised his hands, and shadows exploded outward, living darkness that ate through Sarah's light like acid. She threw up a barrier, but the shadows pressed against it, seeking weakness. This was worse than she'd expected. The Void Walker had been possessing Marcus for years, growing strong on his alpha energy. It wouldn't go down easily. Movement in her peripheral vision. Sarah turned to see Victoria stumbling toward them, her face twisted in agony. "Help me," Victoria gasped, but her voice was wrong, layered just like Marcus's. "Please, it's inside me too. I can't control." Victoria's body convulsed, and Sarah saw it then. Two entities fighting for dominance. The Void Walker that had slowly possessed her over months, feeding on her jealousy and ambition. And the real Victoria, trapped inside, screaming. "Fight it!" Sarah called. "Victoria, I know you're in there. Fight!" "I can't." Victoria's voice broke through, desperate and human. "It's too strong. I tried to stop myself from poisoning you, tried to resist, but it kept pushing, kept whispering." She screamed as the Void Walker reasserted control. Sarah made a split-second decision. She couldn't fight Marcus and save Victoria simultaneously. But maybe she didn't have to choose. She'd passed the trial of balance, learned to use her power for both destruction and mercy. She split her focus. Half her power slammed into Marcus, keeping him occupied. The other half reached for Victoria, not with destructive force, but with healing light. She'd healed a dying deer in the forest. Could she heal a possessed wolf? This might hurt, Sarah warned, and then she plunged her consciousness into Victoria's mind. The internal battle was horrific. The Void Walker had wrapped itself around Victoria's core, feeding on every negative emotion, every dark thought. But underneath it all, Sarah found the real Victoria, terrified, guilt-ridden, desperately sorry. "I didn't want this," Victoria's consciousness whispered. "I just wanted to matter, to be important." "You do matter," Sarah told her, "but not because of power or position, because you're you." She grabbed the Void Walker's presence and pulled. The entity fought, shrieking in Victoria's mind, but Sarah's celestial power was anathema to it. Like pulling a splinter, she extracted the Void Walker piece by piece, burning it away with divine light until only Victoria remained. Victoria collapsed, gasping and free. "Thank you," she sobbed. I'm so sorry for everything." Later, Sarah turned back to Marcus. "Right now, run." Victoria ran. Marcus, or the Void Walker controlling him, was laughing, touching. "You saved your rival, but look." He gestured to the rift, now twice as wide as before. "While you were playing saviour, I've been working. My brothers are almost through." He was right. The barrier was failing. Sarah could see Void Walker appendages pushing through, testing, probing. "You're going to have to choose, little goddess." Marcus's eyes gleamed with malicious pleasure. Close the rift or save your mate. Because I guarantee you can't do both. As if summoned by his words, the ground beneath Syrah exploded. She threw herself sideways as shadows erupted where she'd been standing. When she looked up, Dominic was there. Having returned after evacuating the pack, running straight into Marcus's trap. Shadow tendrils wrapped around him, lifting him into the air. Through the mate bond, Sarah felt his pain as the Void Walker's energy began to consume him. "Sarah!" Dominic's voice was strangled. "The rift! Close it! Not without you!" She launched herself at Marcus, but he was ready. More shadows slammed into her, driving her back. "Choose," Marcus commanded. "Your mate or the world, love or duty. What's it going to be, Luna Celestia?" Sarah felt the weight of the impossible choice crushing her. She could close the rift, had enough power to seal it permanently, but it would take everything she had, every ounce of her goddess energy focused on that single task. She couldn't maintain it and fight Marcus at the same time. If she saved Dominic, the Void Walkers would break through. Hundreds, maybe thousands of them, unleashed on the mortal world. If she closed the rift, Marcus would kill Dominic. She'd feel him die through the mate bond. Two choices, both unbearable. Then she remembered the trial of balance, the Shadow Wolf's words. You can't defeat your darkness by destroying it. You have to accept it's part of you. Sarah smiled. You're right, she told Marcus. I can't do both. Not as I am now. She reached for the immortality she'd been granted in the trials, the full goddess power that would have made her eternal and divine. The power she'd sacrificed to stay partially mortal, to remain with Dominic. And she sacrificed it again. I choose a third path, Sarah declared. I choose both. She released her claim on immortality completely, letting it burn away like morning mist, the power that would have made her a true goddess, immortal and eternal, flooded out of her in a wave of pure silver light. And she directed it. Half the power slammed into the rift, sealing it with divine energy that would last for millennia. The Void Walkers on the other side screamed as the barrier snapped shut, cutting them off permanently. The other half became a spear of concentrated light that pierced straight through Marcus's chest. The Void Walker shrieked, a sound that shattered windows across the compound. Its hold on Marcus dissolved. The ancient entity burning away under divine fire, too pure for it to withstand. The shadow tendrils around Dominic vanished. He dropped, gasping, and Sarah caught him with the last of her strength. They collapsed together, Sarah's wings fading, her divine marks dimming. "What did you do?" Dominic demanded, feeling the change through their bond. "Sarah, you gave up. Immortality, full goddess power? Yeah?" She smiled weakly. "Worth it." Marcus's body hit the ground, the Void Walker completely banished. He was still breathing, barely, but human now, mortal. Himself again after years of possession. "I'm sorry," he whispered with his last conscious breath. "I fought it as long as I could." Then he was unconscious, and pack warriors were flooding back into the grounds, led by Luna Elena. "The rift?" Elena asked urgently. "Sealed." Sarah tried to stand and couldn't. "Permanently. The Void Walkers won't be able to return for at least 1,000 years, maybe longer." "And you?" Elena's eyes took in Sarah's fading marks, her exhaustion. "What did it cost you?" "Everything." Sarah looked at Dominic. "And nothing. I'm not fully mortal, but I'm not goddess anymore either. Something in between." "A true bridge," Theron said, appearing from the crowd. "Between mortal and divine, between wolf and deity." He bowed deeply. "Luna Celestia, you have exceeded every expectation." The pack members who'd survived began to gather. Some looked awed, others afraid. Many of the ones who'd humiliated her at the Lunar Ball now stared at her with shame. Sarah stood with Dominic's help, surveying the faces around her. "I know what some of you are thinking," she said. her voice carrying despite her exhaustion, that I'm dangerous, that I proved Marcus right, that celestial power is too much for any one wolf to hold. She met their eyes steadily, and you're not entirely wrong. I am dangerous. But so is an alpha who abuses his strength. So is a pack that crushes its weakest members. She gestured to where Marcus lay unconscious. He wasn't born evil. The Void Walker found purchase in him because our pack structure, our hierarchy, created the perfect environment for corruption. Omegas treated as worthless. Betas scrambling for scraps of power. Alphas taught that strength means dominance. Sarah's silver eyes blazed. That ends now. As your Luna, if you'll have me, I abolish the Omega rank. No wolf in this pack is without worth. No one will be treated as I was treated. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. You're going to rebuild everything, someone said, uncertain. Yes. Sarah's voice was firm. On foundations of equality and strength through unity, the way it should have been all along. One by one, pack members began to kneel. Even those who'd tormented her, who'd laughed at her humiliation, bowed their heads in acceptance. Elena stepped forward. I'm stepping down as Luna, she announced. It's time. Past time. She looked at Sarah with tears in her eyes. Your mother would be so proud of you. I failed her, failed you, but I won't fail again. I pledge my loyalty to Luna Celestia and Alpha Dominic. Dominic squeezed Sarah's hand. Together? He asked through their bond. Together, she confirmed. 3 weeks later, Sarah stood in the rebuilt Moon Temple, wearing a dress that seemed woven from starlight itself. It shifted with every movement, silver to white to the palest blue, and her partially restored divine marks traced delicate patterns across her shoulders and arms. Not fully goddess, not entirely mortal, something new. Dominic stood beside her in formal alpha attire, and through their bond, stronger than ever, after weeks of learning to work together, Sarah felt his love, his pride, his absolute certainty that she was exactly where she belonged. The pack filled the temple and spilled out into the grounds. Hundreds of wolves, all waiting to witness the true mating ceremony that would bind their Alpha and Luna permanently. Elder Rosewood conducted the ceremony, her ancient voice steady. Under the full moon, before the goddess and the pack, do you accept this bond? Do you choose each other? Knowing the weight of what that means? I do, Dominic said, his grey eyes never leaving Sarah's face. I do, Sarah echoed. The mate bond blazed between them, visible to every wolf in attendance. Not just acceptance this time, but celebration. Unity. The Alpha Goddess bond that would make them the strongest mated pair in werewolf history. Thunder rumbled overhead despite the clear sky. The Moon Goddess's voice, audible to every wolf present, filled the temple. You chose love over power, mercy over vengeance, and unity over division. You are worthy, my daughter. You are worthy, my son. May your light guide the packs for generations to come. Divine approval, witnessed by all, the pack erupted in howls, joy and acceptance and the beginning of something new. When the ceremony ended and the celebration began, Sarah stepped out onto the temple steps. She looked at the faces below, pack members who'd once sneered at her, who'd called her worthless, who'd treated her as Omega trash. Now they looked at her with respect, with hope. Her eyes flashed silver, and when she spoke, her voice carried across the entire compound. I was the girl you humiliated at the Lunar Ball, the Omega you degraded and dismissed. I could hate you for that. She paused, but I choose not to, because I am not defined by how you treated me. I'm defined by who I choose to be. She spread her arms, and faint silver light radiated from her palms. I am Luna Celestia, bridge between mortal and divine. I am the girl who survived your cruelty and chose mercy. I am the goddess who gave up immortality for love. Her smile was fierce and beautiful, and I am your Luna. I will guide this pack into a new age, one built on worth, not rank, on strength through unity, not dominance, on the understanding that every wolf matters. The pack howled their acceptance. Dominic stepped beside her, taking her hand. "We lead together," he said. "Alpha and Luna, mortal and divine, balanced." "Balanced," Sarah agreed. She looked up at the full moon hanging bright and perfect in the night sky and felt her mother's presence, a whisper of approval, of love, of pride. "You did it, little star," she imagined her mother saying. "You became exactly who you were meant to be. Not Omega, not goddess, not destroyer or savior, just Sarah, Luna Celestia, the girl who chose her own path and changed the world." The celebration continued late into the night, but Sarah took a moment to stand alone in the moon temple, feeling the weight of what she'd accomplished, what she'd survived. She was 17 years old, almost 18 now. She'd been humiliated, poisoned, rejected, and nearly killed. She'd faced impossible trials, banished ancient evil, and rebuilt an entire pack structure from the ground up. And she'd done it while choosing love over power, mercy over vengeance, unity over division. Dominic found her there, wrapped his arms around her from behind. "Regrets?" he murmured against her hair. "Not one." She leaned back into his warmth. "You?" "Only that I didn't see you sooner, didn't choose you sooner." He turned her to face him. "But I see you now, and I choose you every day for the rest of our lives. However long that is," Sarah said with a smile. "I'm not entirely sure how aging works when you're half goddess. Then we'll figure it out together." They kissed under the full moon, Alpha and Luna, mortal and divine, two halves of a whole that would guide their pack into a new era. In the distance, wolves howled their blessing, and high above, unseen but felt, the moon goddess smiled. Her daughter had done well. The end. Thank you for listening to this story. Like, share, and subscribe for more.